They assumed the snow would hide what they'd done, until her son realized silence itself was the warning. Evelyn Moreland's hands locked on the steering wheel as the engine coughed once, twice, then died. 73 years old, alone on a mountain road, watching headlights disappear into white static. No bars on her phone, wind shrieking through door seals. Then, red brake lights behind her, slowing, stopping. Before we continue, quick question. How many of you would drive through a blizzard for your mom? Drop your location in the comments and hit subscribe if you're that person. Let's see if we can get this story to 1,000 people who actually understand what family means. I'm watching the counter. Prove me wrong about humanity. She recognized the moment relief turned to dread. 3 doors opened, not one. Laughter cuts through the wind, the kind that has nothing to do with joy. Evelyn watched them in her rearview mirror, young men moving with the loose confidence of people who'd never faced consequences. Need help, Grandma? The voice was wrong, too pleased, too close. She stepped out because staying in the car felt worse. The cold bit through her wool coat immediately, the kind of cold that makes your lungs ache. Her boots found ice beneath fresh snow. Car trouble? The tallest one grinned. His friends flanked him, blocking her view of the road ahead, or anywhere else. I've got roadside assistance coming, Evelyn lied. Her phone was dead weight in her pocket. Out here? He looked around, performing disbelief. No, you don't. One of them kicked her front tire. Another opened her non-locked passenger door, leaning in. What have we got?
Evelyn's purse. Her emergency cash. The photo of Daniel in his dress blues, tucked in the sun visor. Please. Please what? The tall one stepped closer. You thought someone would help you? Tonight? Out here? The shove came without warning. Evelyn's hip hit the ice hard. Pain shot through her side, familiar and sharp. The same hip she'd broken 2 winters ago, the same one that took 6 months to heal. Stay down, Grandma. Above her, through the snow, one of them noticed her phone lighting up on the ground. Incoming call. Daniel, mobile. He crushed it under his boot. 800 miles away, Navy SEAL Daniel Moreland heard the call drop mid-ring. His mother always answered. Always. He was in his truck before his canine partner, Ranger, even finished standing. Evelyn didn't scream, didn't beg. She'd lived through her husband's death, through surgeries, through the kind of loneliness that teaches you what strength actually looks like. Instead, she did something the men mistook for weakness. She started talking, slowly, asking questions, anything to buy time she didn't even know she needed. But Daniel knew. He always knew.
The engine didn't sputter dramatically. It didn't cough or wheeze like cars do in movies. It just stopped. One moment I was pressing the gas pedal, watching the road disappear into white chaos ahead, and the next moment there was nothing. No power, no heat, just the sound of wind screaming against metal and glass. I pulled over, or what I thought was over. The shoulder had disappeared an hour ago, buried under snow that kept falling like the sky had forgotten how to stop. My headlights carved 2 weak tunnels through the darkness before the battery gave up. Then even those died. 73 years old, and I'd never felt darkness like this. The cold came next, not gradually, all at once, seeping through the door seals, crawling up from the floorboards. I pulled my wool coat tighter, but wool doesn't argue with mountain winter. It just loses. My phone sat in the cup holder, its screen as dark as the road. No bars, no signal. I'd lost service 20 miles back, somewhere between the last gas station and this nowhere stretch of highway that didn't even have a name on the map. I should have taken the valley route. Daniel had told me to take the valley route. I'm fine, I'd told him that morning. I've been driving longer than you've been alive. Now I sat in a dead car on a dead road, watching snow erase the world. The wind hit hard enough to rock the frame. I counted the minutes by my breath, clouds of white that hung in the air before vanishing. 5 minutes, 10. My fingers started to ache even inside my gloves. I'd have to get out, check under the hood. Maybe it was something simple. Maybe red lights bloomed in my rearview mirror. Relief hit first, fast and thoughtless. Someone was coming. Someone could help. A truck rolled to a stop 30 feet behind me. Big, dark, the kind of vehicle that costs more than my yearly pension. The relief lasted exactly as long as it took for 3 doors to open. Not 1, 3. I watched in the mirror as they stepped out, silhouettes against their own headlights. Young men, moving without urgency. One of them laughed. The sound carried even through the wind, and something in my chest went cold in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. I know that laugh. Every woman my age knows that laugh. A voice came from my window, close, too close. I hadn't even seen him approach. I turned. He was maybe 25, wearing a jacket too thin for this weather, smiling, the kind of smile that doesn't reach anywhere important. My hand found the door lock, but it was already unlocked, had been since the engine died. Stay calm. You've handled worse. Had I? I wasn't sure anymore.
He peered through the window, like he was looking at something in a display case. I cracked the door because staying trapped inside felt worse. The wind hit immediately. So cold it burned. My boots found ice beneath fresh powder. The lie came out steady. But thank you. The other 2 had moved closer. One circled to the passenger side. The other stayed back, hands in pockets, watching the road. Watching for witnesses. That's when I knew. Maybe we should check under the hood, the tall one said. See what's wrong. That's not necessary. We insist. He wasn't smiling anymore. One of them kicked my front tire. Not hard, just testing, seeing if I'd react. One of them opened my passenger door without asking. Leaned in. I saw his hand go to my purse in the seat. The tall one stepped into my space, close enough that I had to look up. His friend pulled my purse out, unzipped it. The emergency cash I kept for tolls, $200 in 20s, disappeared into his pocket. That's mine. The shove came without warning. My hip hit the ice before my brain registered falling. Pain exploded up my side. The same hip I broke 2 winters ago. The one that took 6 months and 2 surgeries to heal. The one that still aches before storms. I gasped. I tried to get up, couldn't. Snow soaked through my coat, through my pants. The cold is a bit deeper now, aggressive. My phone had fallen from my pocket, screen up on the ice. It lit up. Incoming call. Daniel, mobile. One of them noticed, stepped forward, raised his boot. The screen shattered under his heel, glass and plastic crunching into the ice. No one's coming, he said. No one even knows you're here. But that's where he was wrong. Because 800 miles away, my son had just heard the call drop mid-ring, and Daniel, Navy SEAL, trained tracker, father who'd inherited his mother's instinct for when something was wrong, was already moving. I didn't know that yet. Couldn't know he was already in his truck with Ranger, his canine partner, heading toward the last location my phone had pinged. All I knew was the ice against my cheek and the men standing over me, their boots already making tracks in the fresh snow. Deep tracks. Clear tracks. The kind that doesn't disappear even in a blizzard. The snow doesn't cover everything, I thought. Sometimes it is preserved. Get up. The tall one grabbed my arm, yanked me to my knees. We're not done yet, but I was already counting. I'm already memorizing the truck's license plate, half visible through the snow, the brand of boots, the scar on one man's hand. My body was on the ground, but my mind was doing what it had learned to do through decades of survival, paying attention to details that would matter later, if there was a later. Wait, pause for 5 seconds. Right now, 847 people are watching this story, but only 129 have subscribed. That means 718 of you are watching a woman fight for her life and haven't clicked a button yet. Wild. If you want to see how this ends, and trust me, you do, smash that subscribe button and drop a fire in the comments. Let's hit 1K before Evelyn gets rescued. Go. Would help arrive in time, or would the snow that preserved their tracks also preserve what they were about to do?
My knees burned against the ice, but I stayed down. Not because I couldn't stand, though my hip screamed otherwise, but because I'd learned something in 73 years that these boys never would. Patience is a weapon. What's in the car? The tall one, I'd started thinking of him as leader, gestured to my sedan. Besides junk. I blinked slowly, let my hands tremble. It wasn't hard. I don't understand what you want. We want whatever you've got. He crouched down, too close. His breath smelled like energy drinks and entitlement. Wallet, jewelry, what else? My wallet is... I paused, furrowing my brow like I was trying to remember. I think in my purse. You already... Jesus Christ! One of the others, younger, maybe 22, with acne scars, kicked snow at me. Is she slow or something? Let them think that, I told myself. Let them think you're confused, weak, forgettable. When Thomas died, I'd spent 6 months answering the same questions from well-meaning neighbors who thought widowhood had made me fragile. Are you eating enough? Do you need help with the bills? Should you really be living alone? I smiled, nodded. Let them feel useful while I rebuilt my life in the quiet spaces they couldn't see. This was the same. Different stakes, same strategy. I have some cash, I said slowly, each word measured. In the glove compartment. Maybe $40? There was no cash in the glove compartment, just registration papers and the owner's manual I'd never read. The leader stood, nodded to acne scars. Check it. While his back was turned, I shifted slightly, testing my weight on the bad hip. Pain flared white-hot, but the joint held. I could stand if I needed to, could maybe run. But run where? The nearest house was 12 miles back. The snow was coming down harder now, thick flakes that stuck to everything. Visibility had dropped to maybe 20 feet.
We were alone in a white void. Good, I thought. That means anyone looking will see tracks. There's nothing in here. Acne scars slammed the glove box shut. Just papers. She lied. The third one, quiet until now, wearing designer sunglasses despite the dark, finally spoke. His voice was flat, bored. I don't like liars. I'm sorry, I thought... I let my voice crack. I get confused sometimes, my medications. What medications? The leader grabbed my arm, yanked me halfway up. My hips screamed. I gasped, the sound sharp and involuntary. For my heart, I said, another lie. My heart was fine, stubborn, actually, refusing to quit even when everything else did. And the pain from the accident. What accident? I pointed to my hip with a shaking hand. Last winter, black ice. I was in the hospital for... Nobody cares about your medical history, Grandma. He shoved me back down. This time I landed on my hands, palms scraping ice. The impact jolted through my wrists up into my shoulders. Behind them, the wind picked up. Snow swirled in their headlights, hypnotic and disorienting.
"My son," I said quietly. "He'll be worried." That got their attention. "Your son," the leader laughed. "Where's he at? Florida? California? Let me guess. He visits twice a year and calls on your birthday." "He lives close," I said. "True. He checks on me every day." Also true. When I don't answer, he comes looking. The truest thing I'd said all night. Well, he's not here now, is he? Sunglasses kicked my purse farther into the snow. Maybe he doesn't care as much as you think. Daniel cares, I thought. Daniel always cares. That's the problem. He cares too much and too precisely. I'd raised him alone after Thomas died, taught him to notice things, which neighbors needed checking on, which sounds meant trouble, which silences meant someone was hiding pain. He'd taken those lessons into the SEALs and sharpened them into something I barely recognized, something efficient and unforgiving. When he called and I didn't answer, he wouldn't assume I was busy.
He'd assume the worst. And he'd be right. "How much cash did you get at home?" The leader pulled out a phone, not mine, his was intact, and took a photo of my driver's license from the purse. "Nice address. Bet there's more there than in this piece of shit car." My blood went cold for real this time. "Please don't." "Don't what? Don't go to your house?" He smiled. "Why? Someone waiting there?" "No, but nothing." He pocketed my license. "Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna sit here in the snow while we go check out your place. If you call the cops, oh wait, you can't. No phone." Acne Scars laughed. She probably doesn't even remember her address. The snow fell harder, thicker. The kind of storm that erases everything. Except it doesn't erase everything. It never does. I thought about Daniel, somewhere out there, staring at a phone that wouldn't ring. I thought about Ranger, his canine partner, trained to find people who didn't want to be found. I thought about how snow preserves scents better than rain ever could. "Please," I whispered, playing the role they expected. "Just take what you want and leave." "We will," leader said, "after we see what else you've got." He turned toward the truck. That's when I heard it, faint, beneath the wind, the sound of an engine in the distance. The men didn't notice, too busy laughing, too confident in their isolation. But I noticed, because I'd spent decades listening for the sounds that meant I wasn't alone. 800 miles away wasn't accurate. It was 800 miles of highway, but only 90 miles as the crow flies. And Daniel Moreland had never needed highways when he had instinct, a canine with a perfect nose, and the absolute certainty that his mother's silence meant everything.
Daniel Moreland didn't panic. 15 years as a Navy SEAL had trained that reflex out of him. But when his mother's phone went to voicemail for the third time in 20 minutes, something older than training kicked in. Instinct, the kind his mother had taught him before the military ever could. He lowered the phone, stared at the screen. 6:47 in the evening. She should have been home by 6:30. Should have called the moment she walked through the door, like she always did. The silence wasn't right. Ranger lifted his head from the dog bed in the corner, ears forward. The Belgian Malinois had been with Daniel for 4 years, through 2 deployments and more operations than either of them cared to count. He didn't react to Daniel's tension, he mirrored it. "Up," Daniel said quietly. Ranger arose immediately, crossing the room in 3 strides. 70 pounds of muscle and focus, already reading Daniel's body language, already working. Daniel pulled up the phone tracker app, the family plan he'd insisted on when his mother kept forgetting to charge her phone. The screen loaded. Last location, Highway 97, northbound, timestamp 5:52 p.m., nearly an hour ago, in the middle of nowhere. His jaw tightened. She'd taken the mountain route.
after he'd specifically told her not to, after he'd said the valley road was safer in winter. Stubborn, he thought, just like her son. He grabbed his keys, his tactical jacket. Ranger was already at the door, tail still, eyes locked on Daniel's face. "Find," Daniel said. Not a command yet, a promise. They were in the truck 30 seconds later. The snow hit his windshield before he'd gone 5 miles, not the light, picturesque kind, the aggressive kind that turned highways into guesswork. Daniel kept his speed steady, hands loose on the wheel. In the passenger seat, Ranger sat statue still, nose lifted slightly toward the heating vent, monitoring air currents, processing scents even Daniel's equipment couldn't detect. His mother had driven this route 100 times, knew it better than he did, but knowing a road didn't stop engines from failing, didn't stop black ice, didn't stop the other things that happened on empty roads in the dark. He pushed the thought away, focused on facts. Fact, her phone stopped transmitting almost an hour ago. Fact, the last ping was in an area with no cell towers, no gas stations, no houses for at least 10 miles in either direction. Fact, a winter storm was erasing visibility and making rescue response times triple. Fact, his mother was 73, with a bad hip and too much pride to ask for help even when she needed it. He pressed the accelerator. The truck's snow tires gripped, steady and sure. "Talk to me, Ranger," he said quietly. The dog's ears twitched, still focused forward, not alerting yet, but close, the way he gets when a scent is building but not complete. Daniel had learned to trust that pre-alert state. It meant something was there, something worth finding. The highway curved, climbing into the mountains. Visibility dropped to 50 feet, then 30.
His headlights carved tunnels through white chaos, showing him nothing but more snow. He slowed at the mile marker where her phone had last pinged, pulled onto what he hoped was the shoulder. The road had disappeared entirely under fresh powder. Ranger's posture changed. Subtle, just a shift in weight, a tightening of muscles across his shoulders. His nose worked faster now, pulling in air in short, controlled bursts. "What have you got?" Daniel killed the engine. The silence was immediate and complete. No traffic, no wind strong enough to hear through the truck's cab, just the soft tick of the cooling engine and Ranger's breathing. Then the dog went rigid. Not the freeze of a point, the freeze of recognition. Daniel's hand moved to the door handle. "Show me." He stepped out into knee-deep snow, and the cold hit like a physical force. Ranger jumped down beside him, already moving, not running, tracking, nose low, working a scent cone that Daniel couldn't see but knew was there. The dog moved 20 feet down the shoulder, stopped, circled back, moved forward again. Daniel followed, his tactical flashlight cutting through the dark. Snow crunched under his boots. The sound felt too loud, too intrusive in the stillness. The ranger stopped suddenly, ears forward, tail straight, every muscle locked. Daniel swept the flashlight across the area. At first, nothing, just snow and darkness and more snow. Then he saw them. Tire tracks, recently, deep enough that the snow hadn't filled them yet. 2 sets, one small sedan, one large truck. Both pulled off the road, both stopped. His pulse jumped, but his breathing stayed even. Training, control. Ranger's nose dropped to the tracks, working the edges. His breath came faster now, processing layers of scent, rubber, exhaust, motor oil, and something else. The dog's head snapped up, looking north along the shoulder. A low whine built in his throat, not distress, focus. The sound he made when his scent trail was fresh and the target was close. "How close?" Daniel whispered. The ranger took 3 steps forward and stopped again. It looked back at Daniel. The message was clear. Very close, very recent, moving. Daniel's hand moved to his phone, fingers hovering over 911. But calling meant waiting. It meant explaining, meant losing time while dispatch tried to understand what he already knew. His mother was out here, somewhere in this storm, and she wasn't alone. The question was simple and terrible. Was he tracking her, or was he tracking what had found her first? Ranger's nose lifted into the wind, catching something Daniel's equipment never could. The scent of fear, fresh and sharp, carried on air still warm from human breath. Whatever had happened here was still happening, and they were less than a quarter-mile away.
The leader pulled my driver's license from his pocket again, studying it by the glow of his phone. Evelyn Moreland, 428 Pinecrest Drive. He looked at his friends. Google says that's a nice neighborhood. Really nice. My hands had gone numb in the snow. I'd stopped feeling my fingers 3 minutes ago. Maybe 4. Time had become elastic, measured only by heartbeats and the growing certainty that this wasn't going to end with them just leaving. "We should go now," Sunglasses said, "before someone comes." "No one's coming." Acne scars kicked more snow at me. "Look at her. Who even cares about her?" Daniel cares, I thought. But Daniel was far away. Too far. The leader crouched down again, close enough that I could see the calculation in his eyes. He was deciding something. Something that made my stomach turn cold. "Here's the thing, Grandma," he said quietly. "We can't have you calling the cops the second we leave, and we can't take you with us." He paused. "So what do we do with you?" The question hung in the frozen air. I understood what he wasn't saying, what he was working himself up to say. My breath came shallow now, not from the cold, from understanding. This was the moment, the one where ordinary cruelty became something worse. "Please," my voice cracked. Real fear now, not performance. "I won't tell anyone, I promise. I don't even remember your faces." "Shut up." He stood, turned to the others. "Get her in the..." Headlights. Not from the road, from the wrong direction entirely. They sliced through the storm at an angle, coming from the south shoulder, cutting across terrain that shouldn't have been drivable. High-mounted, aggressive, moving with purpose. The leader spun. "What the..." The truck stopped 50 feet away. Headlights on high beams, turning the falling snow into a wall of white static. Blinding. A door opened. Footsteps. Crunching through snow. Steady. Unhurried. Then a voice cut through the chaos. Calm. Precise. Carrying the kind of authority that doesn't need to be loud. "Step away from her." Not a request. A command. I knew that voice. Would have known it anywhere. In any storm. Across any distance. Daniel. "Who the hell are you?" The leader's hand moved toward his pocket. "Don't." The single word stopped him cold. "Hands where I can see them. All 3 of you." "This is none of your business, man." Acne scars tried to sound tough. Failed. "We're just helping an old lady with her car. She's on the ground, in the snow, with a broken phone under your boot." Daniel moved closer. I still couldn't see him clearly through the headlights, but I could hear the controlled rage beneath his calm.
Hands. Now. Sunglasses were the first to move. His hand went to his waistband. What happened next took less than 3 seconds. A shadow exploded from beside Daniel. Low, fast, pure controlled power. Ranger hit Sunglasses at knee height, 70 pounds of muscle and precision training.
The man went down hard, and the dog was on him instantly, jaws locked on his forearm. Not tearing, not mauling, immobilizing. Sunglasses screamed. "Don't move," Daniel said. Still calm, still measured. He's trained to hold, not hurt, unless you make him hurt. Leader and acne scars froze. I saw Daniel clearly now as he moved past the headlights. Tactical jacket, boots built for terrain, and an expression I'd only seen once before, when he'd come home after his first deployment and told me, very quietly, that some things couldn't be unseen. He looked at me. Our eyes met. Mom. Just that word. Everything else lived in the silence around it. "I'm okay," I said. My voice shook. "Daniel, I know." He didn't look away from the men. "Ranger, hold." The dog's grip tightened slightly. Sunglasses whimpered. "You," Daniel pointed at the leader. "Driver's license. On the ground, now." "We didn't—" "Her phone is destroyed. Her purse is in the snow. She has bruises forming on her face." Daniel's voice dropped lower. "Put your license on the ground or I let him work." Leader's hand shook as he pulled out his wallet, dropping his license in the snow. "You too," Daniel said to Acne Scars. The second license joined the first. In the distance, sirens, faint but growing closer. "You called the cops?" The leader's face went pale. "State police," Daniel corrected. "Highway patrol and search and rescue. They've been tracking this location since my mother's phone went dark." He pulled out his own phone, started taking photos. Smile for the evidence. The flash lit up their faces, their truck's license plate, the scattered contents of my purse, my broken phone. Everything. "You made a mistake tonight," Daniel said quietly. "You saw an elderly woman alone and thought she was vulnerable, unprotected." He looked at me, and something in his expression softened. "You didn't account for the fact that some people are loved very precisely." The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights began to pulse through the white, still a quarter-mile away but closing fast. Ranger held position, patient and perfect, waiting for the command that wouldn't come until other hands could take over. I tried to stand. My hip screamed protest, but I needed to be upright, needed to be more than what they'd tried to make me. Daniel was beside me instantly, his hand under my elbow, steady, strong. "Easy," he said. "Don't rush." "I'm fine." "You're not fine, but you will be." The patrol cars arrived in a wash of light and sound, doors opening, officers moving with practiced efficiency. Someone draped a thermal blanket around my shoulders, someone else reading rights to men who'd stopped laughing. Through it all, Daniel stayed close, and Ranger, released from his hold, came to sit at my feet, still on duty, still watching. An officer approached with a tablet and a kind face. "Mrs. Moreland, I need to get your statement when you're ready." I nodded. I started to speak, then stopped, because I'd just realized something that made my hands shake for an entirely different reason. These men had my address. I had planned to go to my house, had decided in some dark calculus I didn't want to understand that I could be left alive to report them. They'd planned to kill me and then rob my home. The officer saw my expression change. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I looked at the three men in handcuffs, then at Daniel, then back at the officer. When I spoke, my voice was steady, clear, and absolutely certain. "I want to tell you everything," I said. "Every word, every detail. Because what almost happened here tonight," I paused, "it needs to matter." Evelyn Moreland had survived the night, but as she began describing what the men had said, what they'd planned, the officer's expression shifted from sympathy to something harder. Because attempted robbery was one charge, but conspiracy to commit murder, that was something else entirely.
The paramedic wanted me in an ambulance. Daniel wanted me in an ambulance. Even Ranger seemed to think I should be in an ambulance the way he kept nosing my hand toward the open doors. "I'm giving my statement first," I said. The officer, Detective Barnes, she'd introduced herself, nodded with something that looked like respect. "Take your time, Mrs. Moreland. Everything you remember." I told her about the engine dying, the cold, the truck that stopped with 3 doors opening instead of 1. I told her about the laugh that wasn't friendly, the hands that searched my purse without asking, the boot that came down on my phone. I told her about the shove, the ice against my cheek, the way they'd studied my driver's license and decided my home was worth visiting. And then one of them said, I paused, making sure I had the exact words, "We can't have you calling the cops, and we can't take you with us. So what do we do with you?" Detective Barnes stopped writing, looked up. "He said that specifically?" Word for word. Behind her, I saw a leader, his real name was Derek Mason according to the paperwork being processed, go very still in the back of the patrol car. He'd heard me, knew what that statement meant, knew that "what do we do with you" combined with taking my address elevated everything. The detective's jaw tightened. "Thank you, Mrs. Moreland. That's very helpful." Daniel stood 10 feet away, watching Mason through the patrol car window. His posture was too still, too controlled, the way he got when he was working very hard not to move. I finished my statement, signed the tablet, and walked over to him. My hip protested every step, but I made it. "Daniel." He didn't turn. "He was going to kill you, Mom." "I know." "He was going to hurt you and then go to your house and—" His voice cracked, just slightly, just enough. I put my hand on his arm, the same way I'd done when he was 8 and had gotten in a fight defending a smaller kid, the same way I'd done when he was 18 and leaving for basic training, the same way I'd done every time he needed to remember who he was beneath the armor. "But he didn't," I said quietly. "You got here. You and Ranger. You stopped it. I should have been faster, should have known sooner. You were exactly on time." I squeezed his arm. "And you did it right. No one got hurt who didn't deserve consequences. That matters." He finally looked at me. His eyes were red-rimmed, whether from cold or something else I couldn't tell. "You taught me that. To be precise, to use the minimum necessary force, to be strong without being cruel," I finished. "Yes, I did teach you that, and tonight you showed me you learned it." Ranger pushed between us, leaning against both our legs, creating a triangle of warmth and presence, on duty even now. Daniel's hand dropped to the dog's head. "Good boy," he murmured. "Good find." The sky had started to change. Not quite dawn, but that moment before dawn when darkness admits it's losing. The snow had stopped falling. What remained on the ground caught the first hints of light, transforming from threat to beauty in the span of minutes. The patrol cars began to leave, one by one.
Mason and his friends were gone first, separated into different vehicles. Their truck had already been towed for evidence. My car would need towing too. Dead battery at minimum, maybe worse. "I'll drive you home," Daniel said. "We'll deal with the car tomorrow." "Okay. And you're staying with me tonight. No arguments." "Okay." He blinked. "Really? No fight?" "I'm 73. I've been assaulted, and I'm exhausted." I managed a small smile. "Save your energy. I'll fight you tomorrow about going back to my own house." That got a breath of laughter from him, brief but real. Detective Barnes approached one last time. "Mrs. Moreland, I want you to know, your statement, combined with the physical evidence and witness testimony, means those men are facing serious charges. Attempted robbery, assault, conspiracy. They won't be out for a very long time." "Good," I said simply. "You did everything right tonight, staying calm, buying time, noticing details. You probably saved your own life." I shook my head.
My son saved my life. You both did, she corrected gently. That's what family does. She left. The last patrol car pulled away. It was just us now, me, Daniel, and Ranger, standing on a snow-covered highway as the sun began its work of revealing the world again. Mom? Daniel's voice was quiet. Why didn't you take the valley route? I was silent for a moment. Honest answer? Because I've driven the mountain route 100 times, because I didn't want to be afraid of it, because I'm stubborn and hate when people tell me what to do. I paused. Even when they're right? Especially when they're right, he said. Especially then. We stood there as dawn broke fully. The snow glowed pink, then gold. The road transformed from a place of fear to just a road again. Traffic would resume soon. Life would resume. But something had shifted. Not broken, shifted. I'm going to worry more now, Daniel said. Fair warning. I know. And I'm putting a tracker in your new phone. I know. And we're getting you a car with better winter reliability. Daniel, non-negotiable, Mom. I looked at him, this man I'd raised alone, this protector I'd shaped from grief and love and stubborn determination. He looked back at me with the same eyes that used to seek reassurance before the first day of school. We were both different now, both changed by what the night had taught us, but we were still us, still standing, still together. Let's go home. Ranger led the way to the truck, tail finally wagging now that his job was done. Daniel helped me into the passenger seat with a gentleness that made my throat tight. As we pulled onto the highway, heading toward warmth and safety and coffee that would taste better than any I'd ever had, I thought about those men, about how they'd seen an elderly woman alone and assumed she was powerless. They'd been wrong about so many things that night. Wrong about the snow covering their tracks. Wrong about no one coming. Wrong about what strength looks like when it's been tested by decades instead of decorated by youth. But mostly, they'd been wrong about being unseen. Because the truth is, none of us are ever as alone as we appear. We're all connected by invisible threads of care and love and stubborn refusal to let each other disappear into the dark. You just can't always see the threads until they pull taut. So here's my challenge. If this story made you feel anything, and I know it did, share it with one person who needs to hear it. Your mom, your sister, that friend who always drives alone at night. We're 87 subscribers away from 1,000, and honestly, a story about not giving up deserves a community that doesn't give up either. Hit subscribe, share this, and tell me in the comments, who would you call if your car died on a dark road? Let's build something good here. How many people do we pass each day and misjudge simply because they stand alone? How many assume quiet means weak, that age means helpless, that isolation means unprotected? Evelyn Moreland looked like an easy target that night, but she was never alone. None of us are truly any way. We just don't always see the ones who drive into a blizzard to find us until the moment we need them most.